And finally they told of his family's flight to Ayrshire 13 years ago. And now daily reports unfolded of the unprincipled cruelties of James Turner's replacement, bloody John Graham of Claverhouse, a fanatical, high-armed priest commissioned to exterminate the enemies of the king. A gleeful Episcopal crusader, Claverhouse made it known that ridding Scotland of the gangrene of the Presbyterians, by shot and sword, by noose and boot, by rack and thumbscrew, by any means whatsoever, was his only ambition. An involuntary shudder tingled down Angus's spine, and he rose onto one elbow and studied them more closely. All looked peaceful for the moment. He returned to his book. It was a new book, published in England just last year, 1678, and loaned to him by his friend, the good Earl of Loudon. With the restoration of Charles II in 1660 came a sharp drop in the number of books published in Scotland, and the cost of the few available exceeded his imagination. Angus couldn't exactly explain the quickening of his breath, the twitching of his eyes, and the gulping anticipation that he felt in his mind when he held a book in his hands. Books were like a devouring obsession to him, and this book, well, he'd never read a book like this one. Though written by an Englishman, no small obstacle for a Scot, he could not put it down. "Aye, then, where was I?" he said aloud, his eyes running down the page. "Ah, here then." He espied a foul fiend coming over the field to meet him. His name is Apollyon. Now the monster was hideous to behold. He was clothed with scales like a fish, and they are his pride. He had wings like a dragon, feet like a bear, and out of his belly came fire and smoke, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion. When he was come up to Christian, he beheld him with a disdainful countenance, and thus began to question him. Again the pitiful bleating of the new lamb broke in on the tale, but this time another sound caught his ear, the sassy cawing of crows. "Foul fiends all," he said under his breath. In one fluid motion, Angus closed the book, swung his legs down off the trunk of the tree, rolled over, and grabbed a yew-bow strung and ready at his side. Silently he stood, every muscle at full alert. He planted his feet, selected an arrow, and after wetting the feathers, he fitted the shaft onto the string. To the average person, crows might not seem like a shepherd's menace, but Angus knew better. He'd seen a mob of crows sweep down on a newborn lamb, and, before the frantic ewe could clamber to its defence, peck out the eyes, and with their strong beaks rip the helpless lamb open, and fall to on the tender, pulsing innards. And just at this moment, 3 crows, black devils from hell, circled just above Winnie's newborn. He could run out, waving his arms and shouting. That worked for a few minutes, but though the crows were fully 50 yards away and in flight, Angus preferred his bow. What good was a claymore from this distance? No, Angus had come to prefer the bow to any other weapon. To him, there was no other weapon. Eyeing the plunging and dipping flight of the crows, he waited. Then, with a flash of sunlight, as it twisted its wings, one of the greedy birds dived steadily toward the lamb. Angus drew the string and raised his bow. Squinting down the shaft, he calculated wind speed and, from long practice, the trajectory of his arrow, and let fly. His aim was true, and the arrow passed cleanly through the crow's body. It fell lifeless to the ground. Lingering for a moment, a single black feather hovered in the air, and then floated gently to the ground. No sooner had the arrow left the string, and Angus fitted another and readied himself. The 2 remaining crows faltered. "Not sure what you're about, are you?" said Angus under his breath. If they looked the situation over and decided to fly away to easier pickings elsewhere, Angus was reasonably confident he could bring one more of them down as they retreated. Scowling, he brushed a strand of dark, peat-coloured hair from his eyes. The pair circled warily. Then they turned as if to fly away. For an instant, Angus hesitated. After all, they were leaving. Then that pitiful bleating of his newborn lamb broke in on his concentration. His eyes narrowed, and, like a flash, Angus drew, aimed, and shot.